The Galactic Council had ruled the known universe for over 10,000 cycles, their authority absolute and unquestioned. The vast assembly hall on Nexus Prime buzzed with the typical hum of routine governance as representatives from hundreds of worlds discussed trade routes, mining rights, and territorial disputes. At the center of it all sat the hegemony, a ruling species whose technological superiority had never been challenged. Ambassador Krell of the hegemony reviewed the day's agenda with practiced boredom. Another petition from the Outer Rim colonies. Another request for expanded mining operations. Another minor dispute between neighboring systems. The universe had grown predictable, orderly, and utterly under their control. That was before the humans arrived. The first indication of their presence came not through diplomatic channels or trade negotiations, but through a series of impossible reports from the frontier, ships moving faster than any known technology should allow. Battles won against overwhelming odds, KIR fleets vanishing without explanation, only to reappear light years away as if they had folded space itself. Commander Rax of the hegemony's finest battle fleet had been the first to encounter them. Directly, his flagship, the Sovereign's Will, had been investigating the disappearance of 3 mining colonies when they detected the anomaly. A single vessel, no larger than a hegemony scout ship, drifting in the void between stars. Attempt communication, Rax had ordered, expecting another primitive species to catalog and subjugate. The response came in perfect galactic standard. Well, the accent was strange. "This is Captain Morgan of the human vessel Defiance. We're in violation of territorial space. Withdraw immediately." Rax had laughed. A single ship, barely a speck against his battle fleet, making demands. "Unknown vessel, you will submit to boarding and inspection. Resistance will be met with force." What happened next defied every law of physics the hegemony understood. Human ship didn't flee or surrender. Instead, it attacked. The Defiance moved like liquid lightning, weaving through the hegemony formation with impossible grace. Its weapons, crude by galactic standards, somehow punched through shields that had never been breached. In 17 minutes, 37 of Rax's finest ships were floating debris, and the Defiance had vanished into the cosmic dark. Rax's surviving report to the Council had been met with disbelief, then concern, then fear, as similar encounters multiplied across the frontier. Humans, it seemed, had no interest in joining the galactic community. They carved out their own territory with ruthless efficiency, their technology advancing at an alarming rate. Within a single cycle, human ships had evolved from crude chemical rockets to vessels that could manipulate gravity itself. Their weapons went from primitive kinetics to energy systems that could crack moons. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to learn from every encounter, adapting their strategies with unprecedented speed. The breaking point came when a human fleet appeared at the edge of the core worlds. Not scouts or raiders, but a full battle group led by a massive vessel that dwarfed even the hegemony's greatest dreadnoughts. The humans called it the Indomitable. Admiral Jane stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the assembled might of the Galactic Council array itself before her. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all united in their determination to crush this upstart race that dared challenge their order. Final warning, came the transmission from the hegemony flagship. "Surrender now, and your species will be granted a place in the galactic hierarchy. Continue this aggression and face extinction." Jane smiled, an expression that would have chilled the council representatives if they understood human facial expressions. "Tell me something," she replied. "In all your conquests, all your expansion across the galaxy, have you ever encountered a species that conquered its own homeworld before reaching the stars?" Silence met her question. "We fought each other for millennia," Jane continued. "Every war, every conflict, every terrible lesson learned in blood and fire. You've had peace for 10,000 years. We've had war for 10,000 years. Which do you think better prepares a species for what's coming?" The battle that followed became known as the Awakening. Not because the humans won, though they did, systematically dismantling a force 10 times their size with tactics that seemed to border on prescience, because it awakened something in the galaxy that had been dormant for too long. species that had been subjects of the hegemony for millennia watched in amazement as the impossible happened. The invincible were defeated. The unquestionable were questioned. The untouchable were touched by human hands and found wanting. Within days, rebellions erupted across the galaxy. Worlds that had submitted to hegemony, rule for generations, suddenly remembered what it meant to fight for their freedom. The humans, far from being conquerors, became liberators by example. The war that followed reshaped the galaxy, not through human expansion, but through human inspiration. They had shown that the established order was not eternal, that strength could triumph over technology, that courage could overcome impossible odds. Years later, as the new Galactic Republic held its first free elections, Ambassador Jane addressed the Assembly. "We didn't come to rule you," she said. "We came to remind you that you were born to be free." The universe had learned to fear something new, not the humans themselves, but the idea they represented. That no power, no matter how ancient or absolute, could stand against the will of free beings who refused to surrender their destiny to others. The hegemony still existed, but as equals now, not masters. And in the vast expanse of space, other young species looked up at the stars and dreamed of the day they too might touch the void with defiant hands.